all the ADA holders, including myself, wondering, waiting, what's the bottom going to look like here? How long is the bottom going to take? We're going to explore that. And we have some actually very helpful data in relation to how long this bottom might take before we start getting a move to the upside. Regardless, we're still a couple of hours away from a daily close on this daily chart. What is good is in this video, I'm going to break down targets to the upside, to the downside, and we're really going to kind of evaluate what this bottoming formation is going to look like. But I would say more importantly in this video, it's the data that we're using that basically helps plot this out. Now, with all of that being said, there's a couple of pieces of news that I have to just mention in relation to Cardano, and then we'll dig into all the price action stuff. So hit the subscribe, smash that like button on the way in. If you're still out there, thanks for cruising by. Let's start here. Just a couple of pieces of news. Cardano just surpassed Ethereum to claim the top spot in yearly core developer activity per Cryptometheus, proving it's not just growing, it's leading. Now, this is a trend that I think is going to continue with Cardano. Interestingly enough, stepping outside the development activity side of things, stepping over here into the institutional side of things, the odds for Cardano ADA spot ETF approval in 2025 jumped to 71% according to Polymarket. If we go over here and look at this, you can just see it's basically testing an all-time high because I believe it reached 71, previously somewhere back here, like in March, early March. So just testing that previous high right now, and it's looking increasingly so that institutional adoption and interest is starting to surge for Cardano. And this is just the very starting line for this activity. Now, this is probably the biggest news that I really wanted to go over in this Cardano video, and then we'll get into price action. Cardano's Lace wallet adds Bitcoin support to enhance cross-chain use. Everybody, this is massive. This isn't, I know this looks like your typical wallet headline. Cool, we implemented something. This is very big. What IOG is doing here is very big. Let me explain why. In a significant step towards multi-chain adoption, IOG, the development team of Cardano, has announced Bitcoin integration into its flagship non-custodial wallet Lace. With this update, users will be able to send, receive, and hold Bitcoin directly from within the Lace interface, along with Cardano's native token, ADA. So here's why this is such a big deal. And I highlighted a few points, but there's one major underlining type of point that I want to make after I read these. With Bitcoin now on board, users are able to store and hold Bitcoin and ADA in one wallet, send and receive Bitcoin without ever leaving the Cardano network, have one interface to manage multi-chain portfolios, prepare for future innovations like cross-chain staking and DeFi utilities. The merge of Bitcoin and Cardano DeFi is so incredibly massive for Cardano. I can't even stress it. You know the titles. I might even use it in this one or on the thumbnail. Trillions. This is exposure to trillions of dollars. You have to realize, I know Bitcoin is at like 100,000, just under $100,000, but Bitcoin is in its earliest stages of its own innovations of DeFi and what's happening on Bitcoin from a DeFi perspective. Cardano is going to unlock much of that. And so when we have integrations like this and we have IOG kind of, bringing into play like Lace Wallet, for instance, this is so big in terms of unlocking those trillions and giving access, Cardano access to trillions of dollars and all of that liquidity. So this is so big for Bitcoin DeFi. It's so big for Cardano DeFi. It's so big for ADA price. And let's talk about ADA. So I want to really give a sense of what the bottoming out is going to look like for ADA. Here we are. We capitulated like crazy. And right now it's kind of like, well, what's going on? Well, from a price perspective, I want to mention one thing, and we're really going to dive into this data that I think is very helpful to give a time frame of how this is going to play out. Now, and this is a macro weekly chart, but we're at a short-term resistance, 71 cents, the bottom of the bull market doors. Just to give you an idea, because I know on the short term, we get a new candle opening soon. If there's any type of move to the upside, just watch that area. That's what I'm watching on the very short term. So I wanted to bring that up on the short term to the downside. When we get a candle opening, I would be watching the 20-day moving average, 66 cents, right? So are we going lower? What's the next daily candle doing at that area? So you can just see the 20-day moving average, and then this area right here, the bull market door area. ADA is between those two areas. So let's go over here on the weekly chart. Here's what I did. I zoomed out and I said, okay, I think, and this is just me, I think ADA is in this bottoming out formation right now. I really do. And I think it's very similar to these other yellow circles. And the reason why is I've been covering this in other videos. The volatility S&P 500 index reached an area that it has reached in the 3 prior bottoms for crypto. That is August 2024, that's COVID 2020, and then the bear market bottom of 2018. Also kind of a tariff high fear event. Now, all of these circles, I took over here on the weekly chart and I placed those circles. And if you just look, they were bottoms. Each one was a bottom. I know there's no guarantee that this will be a bottom, but this is absolutely worth exploring. With that being said, I wanted to zoom in on each circle on the daily chart and see what was that like? How long did that last? What was the process here? And what I did was on the daily chart, I basically was like, okay, I wanted to take it from the bottom, the actual bottom here, right, to the time when finally ADA escaped to the upside and really broke away from the moving averages of consolidation, right? So you can see it kind of escaped, but then it fell back down to, I should note, a very important higher low Fibonacci, but it still was just trickling sideways up and down. But that was the explosion. It took 92 days. That was a 2018 low. I went to the COVID swing low. It took 44 days. I went to the 2024 low. This is the most recent low. It took 93 days. So we have 2 of these instances of the 3 where it took around 90 days, 3 months from the low of that kind of high fear capitulation to ADA breaking away from moving averages. But look at the choppiness. And also notable is the fact that ADA put in a higher low at a Fibonacci. So swing low, swing high, higher low, and then almost looking like it's going to escape again. So you get these instances of kind of like bulls are here, let's go, and then they fail and people get bearish again. But just look at the choppiness, 93 days. And then just because I thought I should do it, it wasn't on the high fear index, right? The bear market low, the actual bear market low over here for ADA. But I wanted to sprinkle in that data. If we look at it right here, is 133 days. Now that was a crypto bear market low. This was the crypto bear market capitulation. And there was a ton of pain, right? So a lot of volatility there, even falling below the higher low Fibonacci, but ultimately putting in a higher low, but that was 133 days. But so we have kind of 290 days. We have a 44 days, which was COVID, and then we have this 133 days. It's kind of like, if we look at the chart now, this has been, since the capitulation, 23 days. We could very well have another month of choppiness. We could have another 2 months of choppiness, and that would be kind of a normal type of structured consolidation move for ADA after this high fear environment. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but are we prepared for that? And this is something I have to ask myself, meaning, to put it very simply, we can take the August swing low and just chart it to the breakout area, and then we can bring it to this capitulation swing low and just say, do you have the patience for this? I have to ask myself that. That doesn't mean this is how it will play out, but that's just one scenario mentally that is worth exploring, because the data says this is what happened basically in previous swing lows of this scale. Now, on the short term, what I want to mention is to kind of track that story. We have really good data right now. One of those being, if we go over here to the weekly chart, that really big red rectangle. That's the bull market door area that I've been tracking. It's what I call it. The bull market door is the lower end. ADA's right there. So on the short term, at least, we can anticipate some more pain and choppiness and sideways, but at least to the upside, we have a very exciting area. Meaning, if ADA on the daily chart can start making a move above this area, we have a new story to start tracking. Even amidst this consolidation, this bottoming out, a new story to start tracking if ADA starts breaking in those bull market doors. A lot of resistance there around 71 to 72 cents. Even just above is the 200-day moving average at 70 cents. And if you go over to the weekly chart, the 20-week moving average, 80 cents. So from where ADA is right now and 12 cents higher to 80, there is an absolute massive wall of resistance. So that's a story to track though. If the bulls all of a sudden step in and make a run for it, that's what we're going to be kind of watching. But that's going to be kind of some fun data to watch, at least, from a technical analysis perspective. To the downside, I mentioned already at the beginning, this 20-day moving average is around 66 cents. We kind of saw how in previous times, ADA saw a higher low after bottoming out, right? Here's 2018 higher low Fibonacci. It is, I think, a very good idea to anticipate swing low, swing high. We could fall to 60 cents to 56 cents. It would be a normal move for ADA. So if ADA falls below the 20 and the 50-day, we want to see support right now, obviously. And we ultimately want to see ADA, the 20-day crossing above the 50-day. So kind of we want support and then just continuation, obviously. But if it all fails, right, we might trickle down to this area. It's just something to be prepared for. That's some short-term analysis, but I think it's healthy analysis even for macro people, because for macro people, it's fine to zoom out, but to get a good anticipation from a time frame perspective of what choppiness can look like before really breaking out, while we have all of this resistance data just ahead of us, I just think it's a really useful anticipation exercise. So I wanted to throw all that data out there, but again, zoom out. Cardano is, in my view, the best positioned blue chip altcoin right now, and it's because of things like this happening. Bitcoin DeFi, Cardano building that bridge for Bitcoin DeFi, really offering that innovation for Bitcoin DeFi to be something special. And then obviously we have the institutions, the interests of institutions, and Cardano development activity. There's just so much going on right now for this macro blue chip. Things are looking great, but again, I just think it's good to pace ourselves, especially right now. If a crypto bull market is getting ready, and again, we haven't even looked at the global M2 money supply, but this could be how ADA maybe lessens the time frame of this consolidation, and we get an explosive move sooner than later. But this is very much in play for all of crypto. If this move happens out of nowhere, Cardano positions so well. These are just my thoughts, everybody. I really appreciate you cruising through. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.